Alright, what's good? Welcome back to another video, legendary tier list today. So we'll start off realistically useless. Most of the elemental evolutions are going to be realistically useless because by the time you can actually farm for them without spending half a lifetime, you probably have setups that can complete elementals and late game levels without having to rely on them, without needing their contribution. Plus, these units just get damage buffs when they're evolved, and it doesn't make too much of a difference anyways. So just, yeah, realistically, you'll probably never use them. The only exception, in my opinion, is Yellow Archangel being situationally mediocre in the niche of being maybe supplementary IQT damage, just because IQT is such a difficult elemental level, especially if you're using something like a Zeus setup and you don't have access to Amaterasu. Then, you know, it could be beneficial to run the Yellow Archangel just because it has, you know, a pretty decent stun and it can contribute a decent amount of damage after being evolved. But even then, using it prior to evolution is also pretty good for IQT. You don't have access to a super strong IQT setup. All right, next up, Red Archangel, realistically useless. Just, it doesn't do a lot of damage, 40 million gold to upgrade. A lot of fire damage that outclasses it, right? Even something like Hades would work. Amaterasu, of course. Even running something like a Loki with, where is he? King in Yellow would be better than Red Archangel. There are 1,000,001 damage dealers that can outclass Red Archangel, especially at its steep upgrade price tag. All right, next up, I think we're going to move on to Slime King. Slime King, pretty easy S tier. Get him early on, helps you complete the JR stuff and whatnot. Good 2-second stun. From when you get Slime King to the end of the game, it's pretty much always going to be useful because it's never bad to have a 2-second full map stun. And especially earlier on, he does pretty decent damage, especially clearing something like JR hard reliably for the first few times. Slime King is just very cool. Okay, next up, Kevin, also S tier, very good for clearing early JR levels. Also a cheap unit as well, does more single target damage than Slime King, and you can force out JR Nightmare clears with Kevin. So something like a Mighty Speedy setup with Kevin and probably a lot of active play with freezes and rock summons can clear something like JR Nightmare, even without having to go for Pirate Cat's expensive units, Mr. Flamey and whatnot. But back when Mr. Flamey strat was used, you can still use Kevin to budget farm elemental map setups, right? So something such as, I don't know, Wave 14, Volcano Goddess, budget farming, you can use Kevin for and help work up to the Mr. Flamey evolution stones. Deathbite, also S tier, 50% HP cut down damage at level 1, no need to upgrade. Combos really nicely with Anubis. Where's Anubis? Anubis in the end game, something like a Wave 99 Cosmic Tower setup. You'll see Deathbite being used with Anubis to go one-shot the boss a couple times because, you know, 5 times 5, 250% of health, easy one-shot. And then, of course, Deathbite is also good after you get him because, you know, don't need to upgrade Deathbite. And you'll get 50% damage cuts even in JR Nightmare attempts or something. So like a good supplement to the Kevin JR Nightmare completion attempts. All right, next up, I'm say Felina. I was really thinking about putting Felina in S tier, but I think Felina is very outclassed by power creep, probably most notably Amaterasu being straight up better, right? Half the upgrade cost and way more damage. So Felina is going to be situationally decent in the niche of farming setups, I guess, if you want to be able to complete, what's it called? Be able to complete King 1-5 or something like just JR farming for good amounts of gold. You can use Felina for that, drop her in the back line, and she'll help your Clyde Flamey setup, or even, you know, maxed out Jiraiya farming setups. Felina will be pretty useful as a faster clear supporter in those. Where's Jiraiya? There's Jiraiya. Okay, cool. Next up, these units were a little bit harder to rank for me, but I think between situationally decent, situationally mediocre, these are both pretty niche units. It's just that the green ones are a little bit better than the blue ones. So Lightning and Puffy, both situationally mediocre in my opinion, because Lightning's a 2-second stun. Puffy is like, it's all right damage, but definitely outclassed by something like Kevin. These units you'll probably just see if you get lucky in the early game, you know, maybe for your first JR normal complete, you'll use them. But other than that, they are definitely outclassed. You're just going to funnel your gold into something like a Slime King. That's going to be a lot better because Slime King has the stun and he has the damage and he has the global damage. So just a lot better after you get Slime King from JR. But next up, I would say Frostbite and Ash are both situationally decent. They're kind of, I wouldn't want to say better versions of Lightning, but they provide like, I think around 4-second stuns in the early game. So, you know, very good for completing stuff like JR Normal, helping you to complete stuff like JR Nightmare for the first time maybe, just because they are pretty accessible, good stuns, right? JR Hard as well, all that stuff. They kind of fall off after the Nightmare levels, but pre-Nightmare levels, or not even pre-Nightmare levels, like pre-end game, I would say, pre-late game, they're pretty good stuns to have around. And I think that also kind of goes the same for these Archangels, except for the fact that the Archangels, after funneling a bunch of gold to them, can also be decent damage supplements in their respective elemental levels, right? You see something like Blue Archangel used once in a while to supplement damage in, I guess, less developed Volcano Goddess setups, or, you know, the same for Yellow Archangel, albeit a little bit more commonly in IQT. The difference, the reason why I'm putting the Evo Archangel below the regular Yellow Archangel is because Evo Archangel is only going to be like a realistically mediocre damage supplement in IQT in the end game, whereas regular Yellow Archangel also sees use as more so like a early game stun as well. If you get lucky, drop him down. He'll provide solid stuns for Nightmare completes, all the JR completes, even just getting through something like Rage Fist could be pretty useful. So that's my tier list. I understand people think my thoughts on the Evos are a little bit goofy, but you know, that's kind of the way I see it. I just rank stuff based on like realistic useful, I can't talk, realistic usefulness. So that's the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, see ya.